Welcome back to the Have Not Room. I am Ben here with Chad and Brian to talk about week 2 of Big Brother 28 and our second boot of the season who just got evicted. Rome Seymour is out of the house. And this has been the plan the whole week. You know, we've been basically for like 6 days straight now on the edge of our seat after this plan kind of formulated, like whether this shot was going to land. And it did. So as much as there is a lot to criticize about Devon's HOH that we will get into, he did ultimately land his shot.
Yeah, fall of Rome. Rome's burning. I think ultimately he was a good sport about it, which I appreciated. And I think this is kind of like a win for Lyric, honestly. Like, if Lyric can get her mind in the game now, maybe she could be a decent player. We'll see.
Yeah, for sure. This definitely helps Lyric's game more than anyone. I mean, she already kind of made a smart choice by not saving him in the vote. And not that it would have mattered, but I don't know, I was kind of surprised by that.
Yeah, I will see how it plays out with Taylor voting for Melody here and it being so 12-1. It seemed like in that like bits that we kind of get in right after the vote in the house, or we get like half audio, like kind of unclear. It seemed like Lyric was denying the vote, and it was kind of unclear whether or not Taylor was admitting to the vote. So I guess we'll have to wait for the feeds to come back on to see if that's actually like a storyline. But yeah, I think from just a firm player perspective, the ability to go in the diary room and vote out like the showmatch you've essentially been canoodling with for 2 weeks straight, that you've dropped the L bomb with like 17,000 times. It does take a little bit, you know, of a gameplay, you know, in you to do that. I think it's a rare quality. It's a quality that we see in a lot of Big Brother players that go pretty deep in the game. If we're looking especially at old school Big Brother, so definitely encouraging. I do agree. I think Lyric without Rome has been like an above average player. I think like the last 2 weeks, I've had her like roughly in like the 6 to 8 range if I'm ranking the house guests, like 1 to 17, 1 to 16. Obviously, like the top 5 to 6 have roughly been the crossovers. And I think Kamu, as we'll talk about, has snuck up into that range as well. But like Lyric is in like the tier like right below them. So I think we have a lot to look forward to here, and hopefully she impresses us.
Yeah, I totally agree.
All right. So
we have someone ask Ben.
Yes.
How often does this happen that the showmats doesn't, you know, vote for their person to stay, even when they know it's a lost cause? Like, is this a really like surprising move to you, or was this kind of telegraphed throughout the week? Because Rome seemed a little bit surprised.
Lyric has talked about how like if it's going to be unanimous, she should vote with the house. I was more surprised that Taylor voted to keep Rome than Lyric voted him out, if anything. I can't think. I'm trying to think of like recent examples of like showmances and whether like the voting. You know, in these like toppled votes, it's very hard to remember when it doesn't really matter. You know, I'm just thinking of like the kind of like old school examples of like you know, Lisa Donahue famously almost in like a more significant way, not only just like to vote to evict, but in Big Brother 3 there was a vote from the house guests to bring back a free, I guess not a free juror at that point, because the jury was everyone, but a pre, like an early boot back into the house, and her showman's Eric had left early in the game, and by that point, a couple of weeks later, Lisa had gotten into a much different position socially than she was when he was in the house, and so she actually voted with her new allies against him returning. Which was at the time a very surprising thing, but she ends up going on to win that season. So like that is pointed to amongst some of the positive aspects of her game. And then, you know, a lot of people are, you know, somewhat tongue-in-cheek making like Lyric and Allison Irwin comparisons. I personally think that's a little bit much. We'll see how Lyric does. I like, there's like flashes of good game in there from Lyric, but we have not gotten Allison Irwin levels. And also on the flip side, I think the implicit comparison of Rome to Nathan is not appropriate either. And Nathan, despite his mistakes, I think is a much better player than Rome. So like, yeah, we'll see. There's a lot to kind of dissect here with like Lyric moving forward for sure.
Yeah. No, it was interesting. And, I think it does show that Lyric might have a bit more game in her than the first 2 weeks of her perpetually making out with Rome might have indicated.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, we saw a little bit with like her campaigning to Devins this week and it working, this like fake breakup temporarily working. I know they kept on pretending like it was still like not known. By the time Rome gets evicted here, like it's pretty much an open secret that the breakup was fake. I think like Chuck was like one of the last people to find out, and it was like 2 days ago. So, we'll see. But I guess we can move to just like the move in general, because we do have this shot landing on Rome. This is like a big play, extremely crazy Sunday and Wednesday night episodes. We got to see the end of the nomination ceremony in this big blowout on feeds that like lasted for hours. Was this a good move for Rick Devens?
I think it was an okay move. I think that it wasn't really particularly smoothly handled this week. I think there was a lot that this contingent could have been doing better. But I mean, if Rick's going to be on a show, he's going to, swing for the fences. We know that. He flipped a coin on Survivor for, safety or immediate elimination. Like he's not someone who's afraid to make a move. And I think if the icons weren't in the season, potentially Rome could have had more of an impact on this cast and potentially have been someone who's in the driver's seat. So I think taking these types of players who are potential threats off the board is a good move, but it's certainly one that could just immediately blow up in his face when Jason wins HOH tonight,
Yeah. What are your thoughts, Chad? You like the move? Did you like the play that Rick made here?
Yeah, I think it's an okay move. It's kind of an obvious move, especially after they had that conversation where Devins basically said, nope, we're done here. So I don't know. It really, in Big Brother, it all depends who wins the next HOH after you make a move like that. So yeah, very middle of the road move. I mean, it's not a wrong move. I think no matter if it was Jason or Rome this week, it would have been fine. But, it splits up a showmance. I kind of agree with Dee when she said that we should just keep them because they're always going to be a target and save them for later. I was like, that's probably a better idea for the, for her game especially, and Devins because they're kind of lumped together. But for Devins specifically, it's what he wanted to do. He was able to execute it, pretty easily. I mean, granted, it was very showboaty, but no, I mean, like, I agree with you guys. It was an okay move.
Yeah, I think that I've gone back and forth. I think that like on paper we talked about, or like, it's been talked about, the idea of targeting Rome for specifically Devins was, I think, not super great. You even saw with the blow up that like Rome was very surprised that Devins wasn't like having his back, because we're kind of seeing. Well, I guess let's go back to week one for a second here, right? Like the end of week one with the Ashley versus Taylor vote, what eventually becomes the tool shed, but was like kind of loosely operating as that group already in week one before fully solidifying, had floated the idea of keeping Ashley. That's why Ashley made her pitch the way she did, which ended up kind of blowing things up. However, they wanted to make sure that they had more votes than just the 8 of them. One, so that Dee wouldn't have to publicly break a tie, which she very much did not want to do. And 2, so they didn't draw like direct lines in the sand and split the house in half in order to save Ashley, who could have been a vote for them into the future over Taylor, who was like firmly on the other side of the house.
Mm-hmm.
I think making the decision to cut their losses on Ashley, to not, show the cards of the people who are basically in the power position, is a defensible play. What is very odd is to then the very next day make this play to then split the house in half and call out the other side. It feels like they got all of the downside of this like call out split house and like none of the potential upside they could have gotten by saving Ashley. So that's my first issue with it. Secondly, for Rick in particular, he had a very good relationship with Rome. Rome trusted him. Rome was like somewhat feeding him info. It wasn't like a ton of info. It wasn't like super useful info. But I do think that like if people on Rome's, like under Rome's influence had won HOH in the, coming 2 to 3 weeks, he likely would have either directed them towards D or towards the Red Corner trio and not towards Devins. I think that he would have actually had Devins' back, at least in the short term, in terms of trying to protect Devins from being nominated by his direct allies. So I think that making this play removes that protection. It does splinter the other side of the house, and the other side of the house is splintered. But now, even though they're splintered, any individual one of them is much more likely to now put Devins in the block. Like Brian said, a Jason HOH comeback is like very likely to put Devins in the block. A Mallory HOH is very likely to put Devins in the block. A Lyric HOH is like, even though they made the deal, I don't think Lyric is telling the truth. I think Lyric is putting Devins in the block. You know what I mean? Like,
I'd be
Lala,
surprised if she didn't.
Lala wins HOH. Lala is putting Devins in the block. Taylor, I think, is like maybe a toss-up, right? Like, that's at least 4 people, maybe 5, maybe even 6 people who could win HOH tonight that will put Devins in the block come tomorrow. So, like, we're looking at like maybe like a 30 to 40% chance this time tomorrow Rick Devins is sitting on the block just specifically because he made this move when he would have been considerably safer otherwise, at least in the short term. That's my next issue with it. My third issue with it comes with, okay, you've committed. You've made this big play against Rome. This is the anti-Rome week. This is we are putting all our cards on the table to make sure we take out Rome, splinter the other side of the house, sewer Jason's game, like make sure that like the tool shed is in such a crushing position that we start to, look inward at each other and fight as like an 8 and just forget about everyone else. And that's how good of a position we're in, which we'll get to there. But then Rick starts to get in his feels about halfway through the week after he wins the POV and makes this inexplicable decision to pull Lyric off of the block instead of Melody, when basically Melody is a way more workable number here. And he just makes a bad read. Angela and Dee also are making a bad read here. Pretty much everybody in this group, except for Drew and Kamu and like maybe Barrett, are like making a bad read on the Melody versus Lyric thing. They see Lyric as like this like kind of innocent girl who can't lie, even though she's openly been lying to them for the whole week about the fake breakup, and they know that. So that's very weird that they think she can't lie. They think Melody is like a really smart game player, but like Melody has no one other than Drew. Like Melody is demonstrably made many more mistakes in this game than Lyric has. It's just kind of like her demeanor makes her seem more threatening than Lyric. Like it's just kind of like a vibes thing for them. When I think that Lyric is like a much better player than Melody. Like I don't even think it's close. I think I love Melody personally. I think she's a fun character. I'm excited to see where she goes from here. But like if we're just talking pure like game ability, I think Lyric is like almost twice as good as Melody. Horrible read. They got nothing from vetoing Lyric. She's still probably going to come after the icons. And now Melody is pissed off and probably is also going to come after the icons with. She had been vetoed, she probably wouldn't have. She had talked with both Drew and Mallory and individually that she would have gone after Jason and probably put up like a Haley Yash combination or something like that if she had won HOH and the veto had been used on her. Now she's out for blood. She doesn't care anymore. So just a completely unforced error there. I really think this is a massive fail of a week for Rick, and I think that there's a very good chance he goes home next week because of it.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, it's not an optimal move. It really relies on Dee or Angela or another member of the tool shed winning HOH for it to even be, marginally good. But I do appreciate that he was thinking about the television product over his own game. As much as it's going to suck if I lose, the draft because of Rick.
Yeah. No, I mean, look, if we're talking about just feeds and TV, great 10 out of 10s for Rick this week, although it was very frustrating with the veto situation. Nomination ceremony, top 5 nomination ceremony of all time.
Oh, yeah, that was fun. That was very fun.
So, I guess we can talk about that next. So, because we talk about the Rick kind of element of it with Rome. What do you guys think about the Angela versus Jason of it all here?
Great TV. We knew it was coming eventually. I'm surprised that it wasn't brought up that he lied about his mom, but it was kind of brought up, but not really said. But I don't know, it's still surprising to me that Jason wasn't target number 1 this whole week. How the target shifted to Rome so quickly wasn't really well said in the episodes, I don't think. We know it from the feeds, but I don't know. I was like, wow, how is Jason being portrayed as the big bad guy and getting no heat? Even if he lost the blockbuster, he probably would still beat. Unless it's Jason versus Rome, but I don't know.
Yeah, I think by the end of it, it kind of just came down to the blockbuster. It wasn't technically Rome was targeted over Jason, but realistically, looking at that blockbuster, Melody had 0 shot, and so it was just going to be whichever Jason or Rome wins is safe, and the other one goes home. So, he was definitely a close second target here. I think it's just because people think that Rome can bounce back, and they know that Jason can't, or they think that Jason can't. They think that Jason's game is dead. Whereas, if Rome comes back into the house, he still has Lyric. He still has pieces on the table that he can maneuver. He handled the situation really well. I think Jason. I think people's estimation of Jason's game going forward is a lot lower.
Yeah, so I don't think what Jason did was good gameplay. I think it was fun television. So again, got to give him credit for it. I think it could have just been something that he kept to himself. Him telling Drew was obviously his undoing here. Which we definitely need to talk about Drew, because Drew's playing, I think, pretty well so far. Ross certainly thought he's playing well. So, shout out to Ross, a former winner pick of mine on this show. But I think that maybe there's a chance that the fact that this got out into the open quickly, he can come back from it. Maybe. But, him doing this and then telling Drew and it coming out was about as bad as it can get, followed only by it not coming out yet and festering for weeks and then being an even bigger blow up. So I guess if you're going to have your game blown up, having it happen in week 2 is the best case scenario for him. And he stayed this week. So maybe he can salvage something here. Ben, you're the feeds guy. Have Angela and Jason made up at all, or is there still a lot of tension between them from this blow up?
They've made up in the way that they made up on a semi-personal level, but from a game perspective, Angela was still 1,000% down to vote out Jason over.
Okay, so maybe it doesn't matter.
She was actually one of the strongest voices that says if Rome won blockbuster, we need to get Jason out. So I don't think they are good. From a game perspective, at this point, they made this weird 3-week truce where Angela was basically hey, if you get power anytime the next 3 weeks and you don't put me on the block, by the time that 3 weeks is over, we're good, we're even. That was the kind of the clock that she put on him. She was hey, if if you win HOH and don't put me out in the next 3 weeks, then we're even. We can start over fresh. We can maybe even work together. So we'll see, I guess, if Jason does get power in the next 3 weeks, if he does put up Angela or not. I think that's kind of like where I'm standing as well. It's probably not going to solve itself in a single week. It's going to take a 2 or 3 weeks down the line, and then we're kind of going to reevaluate where all the pieces are on the board.
Jason is such a complicated character because we all thought he was going to be so good having some reality TV experience. Yet, I mean, he's like great at comps. Like every comp he's been in, he's either won it or come in a close second. So that's a good thing. But socially, he just I feel like he's just putting on a show. Like he's still on Drag Race. Like he is just like the stuff with Angela was all completely unavoidable and completely unnecessary. Like a move that doesn't do anything for your game other than show the feedsters that you're having fun and messing with someone. And albeit it's Angela of all people, why would you mess with someone that chaotic? But I don't know. I think Jason's kind of a letdown. So for me so far, I mean, great TV, glad he's on the season, but gameplay wise, he is very low on my totem pole.
Yeah, no, 100%. We did talk about the idea that he could, kind of flame out early, right? Right. This was when we were doing our cast preview, this was one of the outcomes we had on the table for him. And I think it just really comes down to he didn't throw his lot in with the icons early on. And that was his path to do well in the season. Was to go to them and be like, hey, I was on Drag Race for 2 seasons. I literally just got off of All Stars Drag Race. Angela would love him for it. It would be another icon that they could glom onto. They would probably want him to admit this to the full house so that he would then get the full target with them, but then he would be brought in as an actual fourth with them. There was a path here for him to grab the game. Angela did legitimately really like Jason before this info came back to her. So there was just a lot he had to do to screw up a position that should have been super easy to manage. And I think a lot of it comes down to a combination of jealousy and ego from not being made an icon alongside these other 3, which I understand. We all, when the cast kind of spoilers or when this returning player gossip was happening in the preseason, his name was one of the names on the table that were oh, they're bringing people from other reality shows. It's going to be D. It's going to be Jason, aka Selena from Drag Race, right? These were we expected them to all be the icon status. And then when the cast was revealed and Jason was revealed alongside the new players, a lot of people are confused. Wait, what? Why are they doing that? So I get it. I get from a personal perspective that it probably hurt him or hurt his ego or hurt his there was some sting there from that. But a lot of Big Brother is kind of eating shit and swallowing your pride, especially if you're not in a position to do otherwise. And he wasn't in a position to do otherwise, and he couldn't do it.
Yeah, and I mean that I really think hits the nail on the head. He felt a certain way about not being included as a reality legend, which is fun for one. On one hand, because it made him play messy. But, if you're just trying to be optimal here, you got to get over it. You got to view everybody as an equal footing. And if you weren't going to do what you suggested, Ben, which is, throwing in and being like, hey, I'm also a reality person, then you got to flip it and be super anti-vet. You know what I mean? So I don't know. He just seemed he's just messy. He's just been a messy player, which is fun and fine, but I don't necessarily think he has a shot to get back into it, right? It's like that old saying where you can't win a pennant in April, but you can lose one. Yeah. You can't win Big Brother week 2, but you can lose it.
Yep, 100%. I mean, who knows? I mean, if he wins HOH, he puts the 3 vets in the block, or maybe a D Devins Kami on the block. And this whole tool shed, crossovers icon structure collapses in itself. It's very close to collapsing even without any kind of
Yeah,
help
right.
we can talk about. But like, if he's the one to topple it, like spill all the pieces onto the board, and then has the wherewithal to actually pick them up and build like a real alliance structure around himself that isn't like cobbled together off of the whims of like a showmance that barely games, like that I think is his only play and his only out. If he does not win HOH this week and he doesn't have like a really close potential ally like a Lala maybe win HOH this week, he's very likely up in the block and probably is going to be, needing to win a veto or a blockbuster to not go home. So,
yeah. I think I have a question, Ben. Why did the vets tell Drew and Barrett to play double agent and then get so mad at them for playing double agent? What's happening here?
What a great question, Brian. A question I've been asking myself for the last 7 days, and I still don't have an answer.
It's crazy. I mean, you mentioned it. The tool shed might be falling apart just because they're bored. They're paranoid. What's happening here?
Yeah, it's a combination of boredom, paranoia. They're kind of feeling on top of the world, like they can't be touched, and they're like, yeah, look at all. Like, what, are we afraid of fucking Lala? No, like the real threat is within. Like, that's fine. That's the vibe that they're putting off, right? Like, no one's afraid of any of these like kind of like leftover pieces now that Rome is off the board. Like, Jason obviously is a big comp beast, and I think that they might push to try to take Jason out before these internal shots get taken. But like, other than Jason, there's like no one on that side of the house that anybody within the tool shed, these big players, really view as like a threat to their personal game at this point. So, which I get, but like, it's still week 2, and you have like a killer structure to like be dismantling it this early for seemingly no good reason other than boredom, paranoia, just spiraling off of nothingness. It's just so silly.
We're like, I think right now, Rick obviously played Big Brother when it was 30 or Survivor, when it was 39 days, but then he came back and played 26. We're over halfway through a new era Survivor season right now. Maybe that's contributing to their like jonesing to make moves. I don't know.
Yeah, we're about to enter day 18.
Yeah. Yeah, Survivors. When did Dee get voted off of Survivor 50? She was gone by now, I feel like.
Yeah.
So it's hard. That is the thing with Big Brother, and we saw it with Cirie too. Like, these long stretches, that's what separates like good players from great players, being able to be consistent and have a clear eye and focus. As much as we didn't love the committee on BB22, they held it down. They were able to keep it all together. The cookout also was able to be like, okay, look, we just gotta get to our main goal here, but that's not something everybody can do.
Yeah, no, it's hard. It's very hard. You need the right people who are like singularly focused on like moving the group forward, who all feel somewhat good within the group itself. I think that's like kind of the missing piece here, where like even the people who are in a really killer spot within the structure don't feel like they are for some reason and want to mix it up. Like, you have like Dee and Angela, who are like, Dee is by far in the best position in the house still, right? Like, and I'm not going to glaze. I'm going to be very hard on Dee, even like, as I'm a big Dee fan. She's my winner pick. She is still, I think, playing the best game right now. She's in an untouchable spot here. There are people who would come after her, primarily Mallory, if in this HOH coming up. Maybe Jason, but I think Jason would be more focused on Devins, whereas Mallory really despises Dee. But like, her structure is just so strong, and this Dee and Angela paranoia, first about Drew and now about Barrett, is just completely unfounded. It really, again, I think stems from almost a level of jealousy, like similar to the Jason thing. Dee and Angela see the position that Barrett and Drew are in, and they're envious of that position. And so instead of using their position for their own personal gain, which is what they should be doing, at least in the short term. They are trying to formulate a way to fuck up their position and in turn like completely dismantle the like foundation of their own game because they wish that they were in that position. What they should be doing, and what they kind of started to do at least this week, is start forming bonds with people on the other side. Angela had a really good relationship with Mallory week 1 and has barely talked with her this last week. Part of it, obviously, I understand. Angela's in the egg costume. I think that's at least partially contributing to her like messed up gameplay this week. Like you can tell that it's like very much draining her. And hopefully when she's out of the costume tomorrow, it will improve her mental state enough that she kind of like, you know, at least plays less bad. But like that's a huge drop ball for Angela. Angela could have picked up Mallory as a number and influenced her in this game, but she ceded that position to Barrett. And then she's getting mad at Barrett for being in that position. And the only reason Barrett's in that position is because Angela gave it up. Dee has took her HOH, built this structure, and then kind of went to sleep for a little bit. She has tried to put in work with people like Lyric, but she's done like very little of the individual relationship building with the other side that you need to do in order to reinforce a structure like this. And she fell behind. And because she fell behind, she got into a position where other people were kind of elevating their game, like in basically kind of encroaching upon a position that she thought she was in. And instead of fixing her own position, she has decided to try to like knock the other people down a peg. And that's just like, it's a zero-sum decision to do that, where like you're not just knocking your ally down a peg, you are sitting on top of your alliance. And if your alliance is growing in their position, you want to then grow higher in your position. If you knock your ally down to try to like be higher than them, you're going to fall with them. It's just not good strategy this early in the game. So that's kind of where we're sitting right now. On the episode, this episode, they kind of like did this weird muddied water situation where they showed the Dee and Angela paranoia, and they kind of undercut it with the silly scenes in the storage room. But then they also showed the very serious conversations that Drew and Barrett had about targeting the tool shed. When they say targeting the tool shed, they mean, and they said it, they mean targeting Kamu. They mean targeting the Red Corner trio. They have no interest in targeting any of the 5 crossovers. Both of them are extremely loyal to the icons. They want to take a shot, or realistically, they want somebody else to take a shot at Kamu, Haley, Chuck for them. They want like a Mallory or a Melody or a Yash or something like that to win HOH and then manipulate them into going after Kamu. So yeah, that's kind of where we're at. And this is something that they're on the open with. They've told this to Rick Devens. They had a 3-person conversation with Rick in the HOH room a couple of days ago, where both Barrett and Drew said that they would like a shot taken at Kamu next week if possible. So like, this is not like stuff that they're hiding from the icons. This is stuff that they are talking to the icons about, in particular Devens. And like, it was kind of painted as like, oh, look, Angela and Dee are right to be paranoid because they are going to come after the tool shed, but it's like, they're not coming after Dee or Angela anytime soon. So yeah, that's where I'm at with that. I think it's dumb. There's been a lot of mistakes. Dee and Angela have complained about Drew and Barrett to Haley and Kamu. If this situation kind of bubbles where Barrett and Drew are like thinking about actually making a move on Kamu and Haley have the information to flip it on Dee and Angela. They've just played so messily here, and they've exposed so many cards in a way that was totally unnecessary. They've put fractures in their alliance that didn't have to be there. So that's where we're at. We'll see how it plays out. If Haley wins HOH tonight, none of this will matter, and we'll have to revisit it next week.
Is there any chance that if one of them win that we get, a Barrett or Drew on the block, or do you think that's too far?
Angela has talked about putting Drew on the block next week. Devens has tried to talk her down from it and said, like, we need to at least take out Jason first. Which is definitely true. They need to take out Jason first. even like saying, "Oh, we should wait 1 week" is silly. They should wait at least like 3 or 4 weeks before they start having this conversation, in my opinion. But yeah, no, I think there's an outside chance of Angela when she puts Drew up. I think D probably is smart enough to not do it. And I think that Devins could potentially talk either one of them out of it if they wanted to. But I mean, Devins is shown to be kind of passive with like pushing D and Angela like off of this paranoia. So it could play out that way. I think the more interesting thing would be if Drew or Barrett win the HOH. And like Barrett has said straight up, he's just going to nominate the red corner. So that could be like a way more kind of interesting play. How that plays out. Drew has like said similarly, or at least he said like he wants a target Kamu, which is interesting because Drew and Kamu have a final 2, which has not been shown in the show. They have a final 2 called the Handyman. Within the tool shed, they're the Handymen. That's from Drew's perspective, that's a fake final 2. We're talking about jealousy from a positional perspective. Drew, I would say, is somewhat jealous of Kamu's positioning because I think Kamu is playing Drew's game but better because he's actually doing what Drew and what D and Angela think Drew is doing, but he's getting 0 heat from them for it. So it's an interesting situation.
Yeah, I see that feeds are back on, but it doesn't seem like an HOH has been played yet. So
yeah.
We'll see. Maybe we'll get a HOH on feeds. That'd be fun.
Okay.
Yeah, endurance competition maybe. We'll see.
Yeah.
That'd be cool.
Would be. I mean, okay, Ben, who are you most rooting for to win HOH this week?
I think Melody is the most interesting outcome for me.
Yeah.
I think Jason and Mallory would be fun. I think Jason and Mallory would both put up the icons and do crazy shit. But like, I think that like from a pure like the bad moves of last week should be punished situation. Like, I think the HOH outcome that most punishes their mistakes is like Melody or maybe Lyric. But I personally would rather see Melody. I really like Melody. Oh, okay, we're actually on the feed. I can see Angela's out of her egg costume. They're shunning the egg costume.
It was fun, but I'm glad for Angela that it's over. That's a tough punishment to be like into that kind of a suit all week. Like, it's gonna be mentally taxing. I mean, we saw Angela crying in the diary room about it. So
yeah, no, it was a nightmare for her for sure. You could tell that it was physically and mentally taxing.
As much as it delivered great content and like funny screen caps, her like in it like a turtle shell, that was very fun. But yeah, no, I'm glad for Angela that it's over.
Yep.
But yeah, I want Melody to win because I just feel like there is something there. Yeah. Like, I think she might have some game in her. But I want to find out for sure, you know.
Yeah, yep. I think Melody. I personally like to see a Jason win. Not that I want Devins to go, but I think if like the whole idea of completely wiping out the tool shed comes into effect, and it like basically would like reset the house, like in week 3, which this house is already playing so fast, like. It's funny that the theme is time travel and like everything just feels way sped up, probably because of the Survivor players. Like, they're not used to like a long form game like this. So I think Jason would be the most interesting outcome, but Melody would be interesting as well. Lyric would be cool to see, but we obviously know what she would do. It's more of, I want to see the Power Alliance or the icons in the hot seat and how they react to actually being in trouble, how they respond, how they play. And, you know, if all 3 of them are up, you know, what do they do? 2 of them can come off and one's got to sit there.
Yeah, 100%. I think that feels like the general consensus is like people want the icons like kind of, you know, on the hot seat right now. Both because they don't like people don't want it to just be a steamroll, but also because like all 3 of them played so poorly last week, and people kind of want them to have some consequences for their bad gameplay. And if like we just get like a a Haley or a Kamu or a Chuck HOH, or obviously like D again, right? Like any of those HOHs, like they're just going to solidify their position. If Jason does not win one of the two comps, which I think is favored to win one of the two comps, then he'll like likely be evicted, and they'll just like completely solidify their position. And we're probably looking at like a D Devins or Kamu steamroll to the end scenario. So yeah, I think we're kind of like running up against the end of our runway here at these people, these players, kind of seeing some sort of pushback for their mistakes. So
a pivotal week 3.
Yeah, no, it should be interesting to see. Obviously, we don't have much to talk about until we know who wins the HOH, but I think the show has been a lot of fun so far. Whether or not Devins completely blew up his own game, we'll see. I hope not, obviously, because he's my winner pick, but I am starting to like think that it probably is going to be a tough week for Devins.
Yeah, I mean, we can, I guess, go through some of the like tertiary semi-fake alliances that have sort of happened in the last week or so. We saw one of them on the episode, obviously the Drew and Barrett solidifying their final two. We didn't get the name on the episode. They didn't name it in that conversation. They had a second follow-up meeting in the gym later that same day, where they named their alliance the Jugglers, which is kind of a double meaning because they both like to go into the backyard and juggle the cornhole bags, but they also juggling from perspective like they're juggling their position in the game between two sides, which I think is fun. I think it's a good name for that alliance. And then I like sort of referenced it earlier, but didn't actually like fully talk about it. Angela and Dee made like a mostly fake alliance with the two of them, Taylor and Lala, mostly to make sure that Taylor and Lala were locked in to vote the way they wanted this week, and also to like potentially protect themselves in the next HOH. They call that the Honor Society, the four of them. And Angela, about 2.5 minutes after that alliance was made, ratted it out to Haley and Chuck. So not a real alliance from Angela and Dee's perspective, just a way for them to try to manage Lala and Taylor. So I will see how that plays out. That might have an impact on potential nominations if Lala or Taylor win the HOH. Otherwise, I mentioned the Handyman final two between Chuck and Drew. Drew, Chuck, and Melody have also formed like a loose trio. But as I mentioned, Drew is going to try to like subtly get Kamu targeted next week if he can, if the cards are there. So not super real. I would say Drew's realist final two is probably Barrett. But him and Devins are also really close. He should have like his real final two should be Melody. But I think Barrett is like a decent one as well. I think that like if him and Barrett realize that their position in the tool shed and the crossovers is deteriorating, they have a lot of pieces on the table they can pick up with Melody. Mallory, Lyric now has nobody other than the Littles, so there's like something there for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to see. I do feel like if the vets get split up this week, that will kind of break the game open a little bit more. But even if they don't, they might break the game open themselves by being paranoid. So I'm not too worried about a steamroll right now, like I would be if this bigger alliance was more, tied together and stronger. It feels like it could break at any moment.
Yeah,
100%. The tool shed could be destroyed.
Yeah. There's rot, there's termites.
Right, exactly. Yeah, exactly. Which we love.
Yeah, 100%. No, this has been a really fun season. Like it's been firing on all cylinders. A lot of people were like tentative about a Devins HOH coming off of a DHOH.
Yeah,
like, oh, this is going to solidify their power structure. But no, Devins lit the house on fire, split it in half, and the Icons have played the week really badly. So it actually, if anything, has done the opposite because of how messily they've been playing. So yeah, really interested to see how it goes. Obviously, again, if a Chuck or a Haley win HOH and then Jason goes home this week, that might be the thing that really kind of solidifies kind of at least a temporary steamroll. But I think it's unlikely to happen. So I think more likely than not, we're in for a really interesting week coming up here.
Yeah, I like you said, I was really expecting this to be the sure up week, which it should have been, in more, savvy Big Brother players' hands. It would have been, but thank God that we don't have that this season.
Not this season. Everyone just wants to put on a show.
That's what we appreciate. Thank you, Rick Devens. I'm sure it helps that he probably got an appearance fee. So it's like, I blow up my game, I go home, I get to see my wife and kids.
Mm-hmm.
Not too bad.
Yeah,
that's true.
All right. Anything else, Ben?
No, I'm having a lot of fun. I'm excited to see what happens tonight.
Me too.
Already have Dee and Haley scheming on the feeds. So,
very fun. So yeah, right back into it, Ben. You thought you might have had a reprieve tonight, but no. All right. Anything you want to plug before you get out of here, Ben?
No. Just come back next week.
Please do. Chad, same thing. Anything you want to promote, plug?
No, just come back, watch the Have Not Room, and all the Wicked Good Everything stuff.
Yes. Yeah, let me do the rigmarole.
You got that covered.
All this stuff. On this channel, Better Radio, check out our House of the Dragons recap podcast called The Pack of Mics and Fire. Goodness, can't speak now. Also, check out the main channel, We Get Everything. Those Fake Nerds, new content, usually video game news on that channel every single day. Wicked Good Sports. Football season is about to start to get underway with training camps. We'll be posting more there. And yeah, other than that, this is the Have Not Room. Follow us on TikTok at GameBots, which I know is a little confusing, but it's where we post our reality television coverage over on TikTok. And other than that, thank you so much for watching, and we will see you in the next one.